Welcome to SmithWeekly Discussions, an occasional program for our members of SmithWeekly Research. Please note this program is a private discussion and everything contained herein is for entertainment and educational purposes only. With that, we hope you're in a comfortable position along with your favorite beverage to enjoy the discussion. We remind our audience to examine our show notes attached to each of our shows to better understand how our program functions. Before we get into our discussion today, we want to say thanks for questions coming from our audience of SmithWeekly, including Sean M., Mark R., Gordon S., and Dave V. On the program today, we've got a returning guest back to update. Mr. Travis Schwertfeger is with us on the podcast. Travis is the managing director of Many Peaks Minerals, a Cote d'Ivoire, West Africa-focused gold exploration company that is advancing the Ferké gold project that has continued expansion of gold mineralization through ongoing drill work and new discoveries. Many Peaks also has a number of other exploration projects in various regions of Cote d'Ivoire that it is also advancing, with the company's exploration's land position in the country just sitting over 1,900 square kilometers. Many Peaks Minerals is listed on the Australian Securities Exchange under the symbol MPK. Travis, thank you for coming back. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Great intro, and yeah, good day. Good to be catching up with you again.
Yeah, Travis, it's good to catch up. You guys have been hard at work and definitely advancing things over at the Forky project. Definitely want to get into that right away with respect to company updates since we last spoke, which was in early July. First, the ongoing drill program that started in April of this year, since it has increased to around 22,000 meters of drilling. Recent results showing continuity at the Forky project. Cover off where we are currently on the program, the recent results announced so far, and when you see assays coming up as far as news and any next plans you want to mention.
Yeah, successfully drilled through the wet season. I think as we talked about, it was our objective last time we spoke. Wet season's just now drawing to a close, but we're also bringing that campaign that we started in April to a close as well. We've, as you said, successfully drilled between 21 and 22,000 meters of drilling. Those rigs are wrapping up now, and we're closing out the last of the core for shipment to the lab. We're excited to come and get all those results in, but we've already rebooked the rigs. I have an RC rig coming in about 2 weeks' time to commence the regional reconnaissance, which we can also touch on outside of the Ferky project. That's been the focus of the Warigi prospect within the Ferky. Has been the focus of our diamond drilling, basically targeting resource there. But we've got another 37 kilometers of strike outside of that focused diamond program we've been doing, which covers about a kilometer of strike within there where we have an existing discovery. But we believe there's more potential along that trend. So our next drilling phase will focus in on testing some success we had in our regional reconnaissance last year, following up on some good intercepts. And then we will probably towards the end of November, bring back a diamond rig and keep going with the Warigi prospect as well.
And just talk for the audience who maybe hasn't caught up since we last spoke, or maybe new audience, talk about some of the recent results. You guys announced results a couple of times since we spoke. Just talk a little bit about, what you guys are getting for intercepts and also some of the grades, because it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think, earlier in our drilling, we kind of followed up on what was some 30 meters at 3 in shallow drilling that was previously done on this project. And it was outlining what back of the envelope would have been a 200 to 300,000 ounce resource within about 120 meters of surface. We targeted a hole looking for down plunge potential for that. We believed it was plunging off to the south, which we've validated in our drilling. And an early offset, we hit 45 meters at 8.6 grams per ton. That prompted us to accelerate things and bring in a second rig. And since then, as we progress along strike to the south and down dip, effectively, we've tripled the vertical extent down to 350 to 400 meter vertical. We've extended from a 250 to closer to 450 meter lateral extent, a mineralized intrusion body that forms the heart of the Warigi prospect. And as we go deeper, we've continued to hit some higher grades. So more recently, we've hit 75 meters at 6 from 420 meters. That would be from about 320 meter vertical depth. which supports a lot pulling a pit shell down to those types of depths. We believe it's viable to pull a conceptual pit cell. And probably in our most recent release, we've hit another 55 meters at 2.9, 32 meters at 3.4 grams per ton on extensions continuing to the south. So continuing to hit some solid grades that support a substantial bulk tonnage target with some good true widths.
Absolutely. I think those are definitely some good numbers, and looking forward to seeing you guys continue to do expansion on this. But with that, why don't we spill maybe a little bit into 2026, Travis, at least to what you can say so far. Talk about some of the plans regarding follow-up, which appears to be kicking off relatively quickly. And then also you spoke to testing some of those regional target areas within the Ferké concession. Just talk about how you see that going into the new year, and then also what you'd like to continue to accomplish going into 2026.
I think the near future, it's the new field season. Things are going to be, I think, drying out over the next few weeks, and we'll have fantastic weather from November right through July, August of 2026. So we've got a good 8-month window of fair weather ahead of us. That first RC program that will kick off, I mentioned it'll follow up on some reconnaissance, but our first 6,000 meters already planned. And as we progress, we anticipate increasing that based on what we see. And we've got budget for 10,000 meters of RC that'll take us into 2026. But the first 2,000 meters we drill will be some systematic drilling within that kilometer of strike at Walrigi. I talked about a 450 meter long intrusion. That's where things really bulk out to up to 95 meter true widths along that intrusion corridor. But the mineralized shear that's mineralizing it persists, but we get kind of narrower, probably 5 to 15 meter true width mineralized shear to the north and south. We'll do some systematic drilling to take it towards resource estimation on the mineralized shear zone in the first 2,000 meters of that drilling. Beyond that, we've got some 800 meter to 2.5 kilometer spaced air core and RC lines that we completed last year. We want to step onto some of those better results where we didn't see substantial high grades, but we're seeing very broad widths of mineralization. We've narrowed up what is a 1.5 to 2 kilometer wide soil anomaly for us down to a very discrete 100 to 150 meter wide mineralized shear corridor that gives us a clear target for more focused drilling. And what we're seeing in the results to date, quite a few holes bottoming in mineralization. We're seeing some indications of more intrusions along strike, favorable geometries, and also the broad widths that we're seeing are analogous to the early RC intercepts that led us into the Walrigi discovery. So some of the RC in the original program was 6 meters at 0.6 or 30 meters at 0.3. These types of intercepts are within 100 to 250 meters of the Walrigi prospect. And our current drill spacing on our regional, we can fit another 2 or 3 of these Walrigi intrusions in between our drill lines. So we're quite encouraged that we have a lot of room for discovery, and we'll start infilling those, prioritizing better targets that we see, merging that data with our geophysics and our surface geochemistry.
So it sounds like you guys will have lots going on here for the foreseeable future. With that, of course, resource estimation, I suspect the plan would be to maybe look at a JORC estimate, maybe starting sometime next year potentially, but really having something out depending on how drilling goes in 2027. What's your thoughts on just that resource estimation, and if you guys want to put that off given that you guys continue to have results?
At this stage, I think we'll have data in hand to do a maiden resource JORC compliant on kind of what's at Walrigi in the second quarter of 2026. Like I said, we've got a bit more RC drilling, and I think we'll do a little bit of diamond infill on the higher grade zones just to demonstrate continuity of the high grade a little bit better to underpin the modeling there. So a little bit more work to do on Walrigi, and as you mentioned, I think our strategy is if we get onto a next discovery that will really push us up beyond a 1.5 or 2 million ounce scale target, we're happy to push for that if we see a clear line of sight on it, something that we could systematically drill out in a few months' time. Press towards that, but we won't delay a resource if that looks like a bit longer lead time to define an additional or a second area of focus for the project. Or another distraction that we would just go ahead and do the resource sooner than later on Warigi. We have another permit application to the south of us, pending grant. That gives us 20 kilometers of our 37 kilometers of strike, where we're just waiting for final approval from the government to grant that permit. That's had previous work done on it, so there's already soils, trench, several drill-ready targets in place, but also a few soil anomalies ending in anomalism. So yeah, we got a bit of extension to do with soils and some RC-ready targets off to the south of us that we'll want to jump on and obviously drill best targets first.
Lots of news coming in over the next, call it 6 months plus here on that. So it sounds like you guys will be plenty busy there. That'll be the focus, the majority of the budget.
We won't be waiting for news for that. Probably about 25% of our plus 20,000 meter campaign is still pending results. So yeah, we've got another 5 to 6,000 meters worth of core at the lab now. We're expecting those results over the coming month. And by the time we report that, we'll have already commenced the new season of drilling.
Looking forward to seeing those results and the lab catching up to what you guys are doing now. So that'll be good. Well, we'll discuss the exploration pipeline beyond Ferky here in just a moment, but I do want to come into the admin side for just a moment. We'll talk a few things here, capital structure and also staffing. On the recent staff addition here, the company appointed a chief operating officer and executive director, Matthew Scully. Talk about Matt and what he brings to the table as the company advances at Ferky.
Yeah, I think so. Matt's probably a really important addition for us. I think Matt's willingness to come and join us gives a vote of confidence to the project. Also puts our confidence into that we do believe we have something economically viable here. I mean, with these grades and the volume that we're seeing, we see quite a few analogous size and scale of projects around the world that are in development and making very good money at these gold prices. So we do intend to quite aggressively work through pre-feasibility and feasibility studies. We're in a district that is one of the fastest growing gold districts in the world, West Africa, and it also has some of the best timelines in the world to go from exploration into development. And I think we've hit on a project that can actually drop that average a little bit potentially. So we've got the team now in place that we can take this project right through to development. Matt Scully's built 2 mines in Cote d'Ivoire previously for Perseus. He was lead on Yaouré and the Sissingué mine. And most recently, he built a new mine in Burkina Faso for West African gold. And that construction project completed earlier this year. So Matt Scully was looking for his next challenge. And yeah, I think he wanted exposure to a little bit more of the development process and was willing to come onto something a little bit more earlier stage than he was used to with mini peaks, but recognizing that we could quite rapidly move towards a development project that would be a bit more in his wheelhouse.
So Travis, with him coming on and definitely well aware of those projects, that brings some good experience in here to the company from both a relations, permitting, development standpoint. With that thinking, what can you say at this point on economic studies? Would that be something, a scoping study, what have you? Would that start potentially in early 2027, depending on how the next year goes? Any thoughts on economic studies? Because you started to lead into development, and we know that this jurisdiction is very fast compared to peer jurisdictions. But any comments as to when you guys would start to wrap around at least a scoping study on this project?
Well, I think immediately we'll be looking at long lead time studies getting commenced that would be required to put a project into development. And then we'll also be looking at the kind of high risk issues. So we want to very clearly confirm that there's no metallurgical issues for the project, which is something we were confident in based on looking on the mineralogy, the distribution of the gold. We believe we've got good metallurgy, but obviously you need the study work to back that and put all that into a JORC compliant type release. I think Matt brings with us the study work and the contacts behind us to do good quality work and demonstrate all that to market. So yeah, we'll be working on that in the background in terms of when we can release scoping and pre-feasibility studies. I'd like to push to have that done before the end of the year. I think they could quite quickly follow a maiden resource estimate. But again, it all just comes back to, how much study work do you do on what I believe is a starter pit for us. And then you don't want to have to go back and rework it in concept of a larger project. So we do want to see what shakes out of our exploration over the next 6 months. I think we'll really start to outline the scale of the project, and you'll be able to frame in a little bit better, how big of a plant and what would your optimized throughput be on a project.
So it sounds like maybe the end of 2026, we will start to see something on that front. So I appreciate that, Travis. Moving over to capital structure here, I want to cover that off and get your thoughts on budget and where things stand on a capital structure basis. The company raised about 13.5 million Australian back in mid-July. Cover where we are on shares outstanding now, where you would expect to be on cash based on the budget for the current drilling that's wrapping up, as well as what you see coming down the pipe to what you can say anyway. And also just remind the audience of the key shareholders on the roster.
Cash-wise, yeah, we're exactly where we anticipated to be. I think we're in a good position to take us right through this next field season, out to that August, September, start of wet season the next year and into it. So we can deliver all of the results through the next field season based on the cash that we have now, which is about 15.8 million as at 30 September. We just put out our quarterly this last week, yet we're still in a strong financial position. On the register, we've recently had 1832, the dynamic fund at Scotiabank, come onto the register as a substantial holder, and I believe they're a bit over 7% of the register. Outside of that, we don't have a lot of substantial holders, but we have Blackwood Capital behind us, which are an investment group of several high net worths that have been behind West African Gold, Predictive, Tieto Minerals. Also did a substantial placement into Tarocco on occasions. They're a group of investors that like to see projects right through development and are we believe, are very sticky money. So yeah, in aggregate, I would say at least 50% of the stock is in safe hands with high net worths that want to see us take this project through feasibility and into development.
Very good to hear that you've got some pretty sticky folks that are holding the shares there and they're already seeing this come together. So I think it's good to see that, and definitely from folks listening in that are looking for an African-focused gold exploration company such as this that has got a lot of greenfield left in it. I think that's good to hear as far as the structure and how you've set that up. So I appreciate the comments on that. Well, why don't we shift over to the pipeline exploration projects? Give us an update on results from the scout drilling at Odienne, and then also any other next plans there, as well as any other updates you want to share on Baga and Oumé.
So Odienne, we've had some very good early RC reconnaissance results come through. You see, that's another area where, well, we're sitting on the Cassandra Shear Corridor, which is a mineralized shear that extends from the ABC deposit, which is about a 2 million ounce resource off to the south of us. It trends through and I would say is the controlling structure with Awale's BBM prospect, which yet has a maiden resource on it, but it is looking very encouraging. That sits about 7 kilometers south of our boundary along that structural trend. And then we're sitting on the flexure in the Cassandra Shear, which then kind of turns east-west into Guinea. And then on its next flexure is where you have Robex and Predictive's deposits, probably a little over 10 million ounces of gold discovered across multiple resources along this same structural corridor on the Guinea side of the border. On our side, I think we're probably a decade behind the amount of exploration that's gone into Guinea. See, Awale's led that charge, but we have a good land position. We control about 30 kilometers of strike along that, what we call the Cassandra Shear Zone. We focused in on about 16 kilometers of that, where we see higher tenor anomalism over 1 to 2 kilometer widths, and our air core and RC programs over the last year and a half have focused in onto a couple of areas where we're seeing plus 4 kilometer long zones of mineralized intrusion. And our better RC result today is 21 meters at 1.2, which included 6 at 3 grams per ton. It's a fairly shallow intercept, so quite a bit of follow-up work to do there. Still an extensive area, so our next step is going to be some gradient array IP, which has been successful for the neighbors around us. I think it'll be a good technique to help us focus in on some more discrete drill targets within these still fairly extensive zones of gold mineralization. The IP should take around a month to run. We'll need to let things dry out a little bit to commence that, to have it be an effective program. But once we have those results, I think we're going to quite quickly convert that into follow-up RC drill targets. So we'll have results on that early to mid Q1 2026, and I'd say by late Q1 or early Q2 we'll be back RC drilling again and hopefully working towards a discovery hole at the Odienne project.
Very well. This is the next pipeline project here after Ferké. Looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with in early 2026 on this one. Any other comments on the exploration portfolio?
Got our Baga project, which we have an option over. It's looking interesting so far, and obviously we're in there because we like the address. We're sitting about 20 kilometers west of Assafou. It's called, most people refer to it as the Tanda deposit. It's on the Tanda license. It's the Assafou deposit, which is about 4.5 million ounces. It's been put forward by Endeavour over a fairly short period of time of exploration, and it's I believe just over 2 grams per ton. So very good looking mineralization. It sits on a shear that extends from Ghana, what they call the Bowie Belt, and runs east-west into Cote d'Ivoire. So we're along the extension of that same shear, where it intersects with a number of north-south shears coming in from Burkina Faso. So yeah, we see an interesting structural setting, but it's early stage work. We've completed streams, which prioritize some areas for soils, and that soil campaign is in progress. We expect to have results on that and be able to frame that into kind of district scale targets again by early 2026, which is going to lead us into probably some auger and trench is next steps on Baga. So earlier stage and probably a small percentage of our budget. Back at Odienne, that's probably $50,000 to $60,000 worth of geophysics and another $250,000 worth of drilling for a next phase of RC. We'll see a similar $200,000 to $300,000 worth of exploration expenditure at Baga. I think we'll both significantly advance those projects, and that'll be a small proportion of our plus $10 million budget that we have for exploration, with 90% of it going into the flagship project at Ferké, taking that towards resource.
Good to hear you guys are going to spend a little bit there. Sounds like it's around 700,000 or so to go into those projects while you guys continue to focus on Ferké and expansion on that front. Definitely, it's good to have this pipeline. So I appreciate what you guys are doing here to bring this forward. Just shifting over to jurisdiction for a moment and government. Any comments there, just as far as relationship, and then also the recent election result in the country and indications as to what you think as far as mining and exploration policy runway in the years ahead? It looks pretty good.
We're seeing an extension of the existing government that's been there, which has seen a sustained period of economic growth for Cote d'Ivoire and a strong period for development and increasing jobs. And I think that's been rewarded with a fourth term for Daniel Ouattara. Regardless of the outcome, I think Cote d'Ivoire and the elections, Cote d'Ivoire's on a path for economic growth, and even other parties that were contenders in that election would still want to see development and growth of the country. So, we weren't too concerned about what the political outcome was. I was just very pleased to see it be predominantly peaceful election process, which doesn't always happen in Africa, but Cote d'Ivoire's successfully done it 2 times in a row now. So, yeah, a good period of peace and prosperity for Cote d'Ivoire, and I think that's going to be the case for more than a decade to come. Solid growth for the country, and everybody recognizes that, and I think we'll want to persist on that path.
Absolutely. I think the natural resource development plans in the country, and really when you look at some of the industries there and some of the upcoming projects that are in development or already producing or are on the plate to go forward, I think it makes a lot of sense to have a administration there that realizes the importance of the wealth creation from mining that not only supports the country as a whole, but also the local regions in which the mines operate. So very good information on that, and also utilization, exploration companies out there looking for local utilization of services and skills. Good stuff on that front, Travis. So I appreciate your thoughts on the political outcome there so far. Well, Travis, short of anything else you want to add here for this update, we'll leave it here for now. And for potential investors who are listening in, the company has a market capitalization of about 91 million Australian dollars. Why should Mini Peaks Minerals be considered within the institutional, family office, and retail investors portfolio at this stage?
Yeah, I think that market cap we have is, well, sitting around half to a third of our competitors who have put out resources. I don't think we've seen the re-rate for our resource potential, which we haven't really framed into a JORC compliant term, but I think we will have, size of resources competitive with some of our peers, such as African Gold, who hold about 170 mil market cap at this stage, still working in exploration phase. Yeah, and quite a other of our peers with a little bit more advanced projects, which I think we're going to catch up to rapidly, are more in the 200 to 400 mil market cap range. So I think over the coming 12 months, as we work towards resource and then feasibility study, we're due for a substantial re-rate.
Absolutely agreed with that, Travis, and certainly encourage the audience to take a look at where things stand now and also reach out to the company. And with that, for investors seeking further information, Travis, how can they reach the company?
info@minipeaks.com.au is probably a best contact, especially for foreign investors. We do also have a local number, which I'm typically not at the office. I'm in Cote d'Ivoire more often, but messages do flow through to me. So either the phone number on our most recent presentation or info@minipeaks.com.au.
Travis, well, thank you for coming back to update on Many Peaks. Keep up the work at the Ferky project and wishing you guys further expansion success. We look forward to having you back to update in the coming months.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. And yeah, look forward to chatting to you again. Appreciate it.